Earlier in the course, I told you that this user interface pattern we have here is officially called the media object. So we have an image or an icon on the left, and on the right, we have a title followed by some text. You have seen this pattern on Facebook, Twitter, any kind of social networking websites. That's why this pattern is officially called the media object or the media component. So to implement this, we're going to add a div with a class of media. Inside this div, we're going to add two elements, a div with a class of media image. And right next to that, we're going to add another div with a class of media body. Good. Now in this container, we can add a thumbnail image or an icon. In this lesson, I'm going to reuse one of our icons. So let's bring up the icons template and copy this markup, paste it here. Now in this section, our icons are not inside the container. So I'm going to get rid of icon container, delete and delete. So in the container with the class of media image, we simply have an SVG icon. Now I'm going to change this from WordPress to Snap. This is the same icon that we see right here. Good. Now in the body section, we're going to have a heading and some text. What heading are we going to use? Well, in this design, here we have an H2 element. So the next element should be H3. So I'm going to add an H3 and say easy start and managed updates. Now to style this, we're going to give it a class called media title. And right next to that, we're going to add a paragraph with some dummy text. Okay, now let's see what we get up to this point. Here's what we get. The first thing we want to do is to put the body right next to the image. How can we do that? Using flex. So if we use flex on the container, which is the media object, we can lay these elements horizontally. So we define a new section called media. Here we add a new rule and set display to flex. Let's take a look. All right, that solves the problem, but we have some extra margin over here. That is coming from our heading element. Let's verify it. So inspect, we go to the computer tab. On the top, look, we have 30 pixels of margin here. So here we're going to define a rule for media title and set margin top to 0. Okay, the problem is fixed, but the text is so close to the image. So we want to add some padding or some margin around the body element. So we define a rule for media body and set margin to 0 and 2 rems. So 0 for vertical and 2 rems for horizontal. Now take a look. That is better. Now in this design, this image is slightly below the top of the heading, whereas in our implementation, our image is above the heading. So we want to give this image a top margin. So let's define a new rule for media image and give it a top margin of 1 rem. Take a look. That is better. So we've got the basic structure right. Now, what about the black background? We're not going to implement that as a skin here because the whole purpose of media object is for structuring an image and some content related to the image. Plus, at this point, I'm not sure if we're going to have other media objects on this website with this exact style. So later, when we implement this entire section, we will apply a black background here, and our media object will automatically have a black background. There we'll also fine-tune the size and color of these fonts. So we're not going to worry about it at this point. We're done with the implementation of the media component. Next, we're going to implement the quote component.